Good evening everybody, Marcus Godwin here with the Noise of Time Shum Vremeni blog. This video is called A Message to the Armenian People. Now who might I be, Marcus Godwin, to talk to the Armenian people? Unfortunately I've never been there, don't speak a word of your language, or languages. As I understand there are two versions of Armenian, Eastern and Western, correct me if I'm wrong. What I want to say is this: on Sunday there are elections which in your country you're apparently thousands of years old. I thought it was about 2,000 years old, but some Armenians, because I've met many of you around the world, in Britain, in France, in Czech Republic, and of course here in Russia, where lots of you live. There's a very big Armenian diaspora here, who apparently will have great difficulty voting in this election, whereas the diasporas in America and the EU, of course, won't. Now, I've only got, so who am I to say what I'm now going to say? Dear Armenians, do not join the EU. What on earth are you thinking of? Can you just look at the map? This is not 1990. The EU, of course, I grew up in Great Britain and lived for many years in France, as a result of which I have family in France. Europe at that time did look like one of the most prosperous and luckiest places on earth, with our own deep culture and so on and so forth. Now not. Listen to me, dear Armenians. Your idea that somehow life for you will be better if you join the European Union is a complete, total and utter illusion. Just an illusion, and a very dangerous one. The first thing I need to say is that the EU, the European Union, is run exclusively by Epstein Islanders, many of whom are direct bloodline descendants of the bigwigs and hierarchy of the Third Reich. And of course they were descendants of earlier ruling European families, all of whom were involved in Satan worship and satanic rituals and sacrifice of children to the devil, etc, etc. Right now, you have seen, for example, what the EU did in Romania. The Romanians were about to vote for a president called Colin Georgescu, if I remember correctly. The EU dictatorship didn't like him, so they just cancelled the election, cooked up some charges and put the guy in prison. Now, what are they going to do to you if you join the EU? The first thing that's going to happen to you is that your children will immediately start being LGBT'd from kindergarten upwards. They have already blatantly said that they want to get the Russian Orthodox Church out of your country. Your own church, some people have told me that it's not actually Orthodox. Well, this is a very interesting point for me. I assumed that it was. If your church, and as I understand, you have been Christian for since the 4th century, like Armenia and like your neighbour Georgia, so if you join the EU, they're going to clamp down on your church. They might not do it just immediately overnight. They will do with the Russian Orthodox Church and any other kind of Orthodox churches which are there. They will clamp down on your religion, deturn it and corrupt it from the inside, as they have done with the churches in Western Europe. But of course they were already corrupted since the Great Schism of 1054. So the EU will be a complete disaster for you. All major countries of the EU now hate their governments. The leaders of Britain, who's not in the EU for the moment, but of course these noisy bikers, they are trying to get back into the EU because it's a club for Satanists, and Keir Starmer is of course a practicing Satanist, as is the so-called fake King Charles, as was his fake Queen Mother and her mother before them, and so it goes on. Britain has been a Luciferian theocracy for 400 years. Anyway, that's another story. Just do not join this organisation. Look at your alternative, where you already are, actually. Where you already are, in Eurasia. Look how the Russian economy has survived the most sanctions in human history since the West took over the rest of the world, basically. You are connected by a land border to Iran, a country which has become more powerful and almost certainly will do again, as it has defeated the United States, Israel and the collective West so far. They're probably going to have another go. So most of your products, as I understand, something like 80%, again, correct me if I'm wrong, I should have done a bit more accurate research before making this video, but time is passing, and most of your products are sold in Russia. The EU is not going to buy the same amount of your agricultural produce, your cognac or whatever else you produce. The leaders of the EU, not only do they hate they hate Christianity first and foremost, they hate the traditional family, they're trying to destroy it in every country where they take over. They also hate ancient culture. It is their unwritten goal to destroy the history of every culture on earth. This applies to the ruling elites all over the Western world. In America, Canada, Australia, New Zealand. There is one place now in 2026, above all, not to be, and that is the collective West. Dear Armenians, what on earth are you thinking of? China is the biggest economy in the world. India is pulling itself out of poverty too and is one of the largest economies in the world. Russia is one of the largest economies and most successful in spite of all the sanctions and in spite of the very serious war that's going on in southwest Russia, falsely known as Ukraine. Is that just how I don't understand how any one of you could possibly want to join the European Union now. I'm sorry, but this seems to me just completely crazy. But I've lived in Russia for so long and been in contact with many people from other Russian countries. I'm a political observer of the geopolitical situations, and above all, what interests me most is the deep historical reasons why this is happening. Why does the Western world, for example, keep attacking Russia in particular, the Russian world, and orthodoxy in particular, wherever it is found, including in Ethiopia, etc., etc., etc. So let's go this way. Yeah, you have all the advantages. Furthermore, staying in the Eurasian bloc and not going to the decrepit dictatorship of the EU, where every country is seething and on the verge of civil war, where the economies are being deliberately destroyed by their own governments. So after the complete chaos, when the people will then be begging them to undo the dictatorship. Please, Armenia, I would love to visit your country as soon as possible, actually. It's always been an interesting place, including your neighbour Georgia. Now, your neighbour Georgia went through a similar experience with Saakashvili. And I can tell you now, your current, can't call him leader, this complete traitor, Peshian, I always get confused between one of the president of Iran that has this Armenian name and your president. But this guy is a total traitor to your history, your souls, your religion. He wants to sell you out. He'll, of course, be one of these elites ruling and judging the show, and you won't be. You are literally, dear Armenians, you are staring into an abyss of ruination of your history, your religion, your families and your country. Don't make this decision. I'm very sorry to say that almost for sure the decision has already been made for you. The chances that your election this Sunday in 2 days' time is going to be free and fair are pretty seriously nil. Zilch. Nichevo. Impossible. This is very sad, but however, if you turn up there and the more of you who vote against this government that wants to drag you into the EU and cut your ties with Russia, other neighbours like Georgia, Iran, etc., cut your ties with Eurasia, where you actually belong, then I'm very sorry, nobody can help you. It was nice knowing you. We'll, here in Russia and other countries too, will keep your memory alive. We'll pray for your souls. etc., etc., etc. Of course, the other thing not to forget is that in Armenia, apparently, again, if anyone knows better, please correct me if I'm wrong, but don't you have the largest American embassy in the whole wide world? The very largest one. What do they need it for, my precious? What do they need it for? The largest embassy in the whole wide world, bigger than their embassy in London, bigger than their embassy in Paris, bigger than their embassy in Moscow, bigger than their embassy in Peking, Beijing. What do they need it for? What are they planning for you, dear Armenians? Your situation now, incredibly, after all this time, mirrors so much the situation that woke me up when I saw what was happening in Ukraine in 2013 and then 2014 with the Maidan putsch, where the West installed their own government there and told Ukrainians that there's no such thing as Ukrainians. There is one massive difference. Armenians is an ancient culture. Ukrainian is a fake identity from a region of the Russian world, from a region of the Russian Empire, basically. However, so this is where you have one great strength. But they want to use you in their ultimate war against Russia, which they know and see as the centre of world Christianity since the fall of the Byzantine Empire. Of course, we all know that the Vatican is not the centre of any kind of Christianity. It's the centre of the complete opposite, and what's going on in the dungeons under there and all the rest of it. Obviously, all forms of Protestantism are satanic sects. Very sorry, guys, but not Orthodox, not Christian. This is just a simple fact. It's not a question of being partisan to some group or some, like Manchester City against Manchester United or some nonsense like this. It's simply what our Lord and Saviour Jesus Christ told the disciples to tell us. And nothing has been changed since, as far as we can possibly know, of course. Whereas in the Roman Catholic Church, they split off from the Church of Christ in 1054 with the Great Schism. And since then, the West has been destroying, looting, pillaging, invading, and enslaving. Literally, it can be traced back to that date, more or less. So, yeah, they want to use you in their overall obsession to destroy Russia once and for all, to dismember her. Russia has historically been your friend. Russia has helped you in the past when you had other problems, maybe with Armenia, etc., etc., especially with Turkey. Nicholas II opened the borders, so that part of Armenia that was in the Russian Empire. Just sorry, I have something in my teeth, piece of orange. So that part of Turkey, of Armenia that was in the Ottoman Empire, they opened the borders so many of you could escape the genocide in 1915. Then came the Soviet Union, of course, but you do know, dear Armenians, don't you, that communism was imposed on the Russian Empire in the two-phased colour revolution organised by the Western elites, whose grandchildren or great-grandchildren are exactly the ones now trying to lure you and seduce you into the juicy, juicy EU, which is in fact an evil warmongering entity together with its sister organisation NATO. There is no difference now. I'm rambled on a bit, but maybe I should say, please, dear Armenians, we're going to miss you. I don't just mean because you will be in another political bloc. If you join the EU, you are committing suicide. They will destroy your 1,000-year-old history. They will destroy your families. They will destroy your church. They will destroy your economy. They might even find some other reason to genocide some of you again. And basically, it's going to be toodaloo. So think about it, please. Even though the election will be fixed, because the EU and the Western elites in general, of course, with Washington and CIA and MI6 behind most of this, and Mossad, of course, they all work together. They're all basically one organisation. There you go. So actually, I'll keep on talking for a little bit longer. Why not? Just so we get another view of the Fontanka River here. I want to show you something beautiful. And I sincerely hope that as soon as a few bureaucratic problems are over, I'll be able to visit an Armenia, a free and proud Armenia living among the Eurasian countries that don't want to destroy their religion. Of course, the religion was nearly destroyed here in Russia. I don't know about Armenia. I definitely know that, come on guys, you must admit it, in the second half of the Soviet Union, after the Great Patriotic War, Armenia didn't have it so bad, really. Same with Georgia. You got a nice climate, you could grow your own food, you lived better than a lot of people in Leningrad, for example, or even Moscow in many ways. So it seems. So, wishing you all the best, Armenia, really. I've met so many of you, never been there, and hope this will happen soon, and I hope you don't disappear. But if you join the EU, it's curtains for you. Marcus Godwin signing off. God bless you.